Hello and welcome back to my studio. It's Lois here from Lois and Morgana Davidson Art, and today is episode 3 of my 5-minute landscape painting series. And of course this is not about the speed of painting, but it's about brevity of brushstrokes and trying to focus on practicing less is more in a landscape. So it's an interesting exercise that can help you to not overwork paintings and also to know when to stop. I'll be using these 3 colours today. I've got indigo, sepia and neutral tint, which I very rarely use, so that's a bit of an experiment for me. My paper is Canson Moulin de Roy cold press paper. It's taped to my board with ordinary decorator's masking tape, and my board's at an angle of about 20 to 30 degrees. I'm using my Princeton Aqua Elite Mottler brush, and I'm wetting the sky area all over, and as always I'm sort of creating those cloud shapes with my brush and clean water on the page, and this sets up the page for a nice dramatic fresh sky. So I've dipped into tube consistency paint, really rich, really thick, and I'm just spreading it across where the sky is wettest. You can see the paint sort of running down the page a little bit, stopping at the edge of the wet paper. And then I can add richer paint. Now this is a drier mix, and by that I mean I haven't dipped the brush into water. I've just picked up the paint. There's plenty of water on the page, and if I use this drier mix it'll stay where I put it. And now I've rinsed out my brush, and you can see that I have much paler transitions of paint and washes across the top to give me those wispy clouds. If you're watching this demo, one thing I would like to impress upon you is try not to worry too much about the way that I mix my paint and the way that I apply my paint. There is no sort of right or wrong way of doing it, and the way that I mix my paint to water ratios is something that I've learnt and built up over the years, and I'm hoping that you'll be able to see that if you sort of take the plunge and start practicing yourself, you will then discover the paint and water ratios that you need for your washes, for your paint mixes. You'll discover how to get those lovely soft transitions of paint for yourself in your own way. And it's really important, I think, for individual artists to really begin to learn for themselves and not to try to paint like the artists that they admire. I mean, you can do that to start with as a beginner, but in order to progress and move forward, it's really important to begin to develop your own style, your own techniques and your own understanding of the way you like to mix the paint, the way you like to use the brushes. And a quick exercise like this can be really useful to help you to build those skills for yourself. And hopefully here you can see that I've just about finished this painting. I've set the scene. I've got a dry brush body of water or a field. It could be anything like that. Of course, with loose painting, it's up to the viewer to decide. I've got a distant line of hills and trees and a sort of a something and nothing foreground, lakeside, which I'm just adding a slightly jagged edge to just to finish that off. And I think all I'm going to do next is just add a few tree trunks and branches using my palette knife, scraping through that rich paint. So I think the painting time, the mixing time, the thinking time there took around about 5 minutes again. So removing the tape, that helps me to see this practice piece with a clean white border. And with that clean white border, these sort of random and very rough brush strokes come together. And because I've put in those trees on the distant shore, I think you can really get the context of this scene, and you can see what I'm suggesting with very little brushwork. Very few marks that I've made. I've just tried to keep it really, really simple. And as I've said in the last 2 parts of this series, is it perfect? No. Do I want it to be? No. Does it need to be? Of course not. It's a loose watercolour painting. It's a practice piece. And the idea is to try to keep the brushwork really fresh, expressive, alive. To try to sort of finish the painting before it begins to look overworked. And I think that dry brush area, that large passage there, which is either a ploughed field, a snowy field, or a body of water, allows the painting to breathe. It's what gives space to the rest of the painting. It doesn't need any detail there. Well, I hope you found that helpful. I especially hope that you found it helpful where I've tried to encourage you to try to discover your own way of mixing paint and your own way of sort of delivering it to the page through practice, rather than sort of trying to use the same methods that you see artists in demonstrations like this one use, because that's not going to be helpful to you. The only thing that will help you to do is to understand how I paint, and it's much more important for you to learn to understand how you paint, and that's how you will develop your own unique and amazing skills. So what do you see there? Do you see a field or do you see water? I'd love to know in the comments. If you have enjoyed what you've seen so far, then you may be interested in my book, Landscapes in Watercolour, Techniques and Tutorials for the Complete Beginner and the Intermediate. There aren't any fast exercises in this. These are more considered projects, but there's lots of useful, helpful information about techniques and materials there that I'm sure you'll find useful. If you're interested in taking a look, there are links in the description below. So many thanks for watching, and thank you so much for your support, and thank you so much to everybody that supports us on Patreon. We really do appreciate you. I'll see you again soon. Take care and happy painting. Bye.